Charlie Munger, at the age of 98, is known to be a self-made billionaire, with years of expertise discussing several issues regarding the stock market. For today's video, here at the Financial Bridge, we will be discussing Charlie Munger advice for investors on how to build substantial money over time, despite being in the middle of market volatility, the unexpected booms, along with him and Warren Buffett's success stories and best investments. Now, we won't make you wait for too long, so let's begin. Warren and he have now witnessed that their Berkshire shares decrease from high to low by 50 points 3 times. Charlie Munger believes that it is inherent in long-term shareholding with normal vicissitudes and worldly outcomes and in markets, so the long-term holder has his quoted value of his stock go down and then by say 50%. In fact, one could make the argument that if one cannot react with equanimity to a market price decline of 50%, 2 or 3 times a century, one is not fit to be a common shareholder and deserves the mediocre result. You'll be judged against those with a more patient and accepting attitude toward the market's ups and downs. Even though legislative limits on human activity can't eradicate all sin and foolishness from a capitalist economy, they can significantly mitigate the ups and downs that otherwise would occur. And what happened in America is that those who were making money out of a lack of wise restraint simply got more and more power by doing more and more lobbying and making larger and larger political contributions, helped by a certain ideological naughtiness that assumed that because free market works so well compared to, say, communism, that automatically followed that if there were no laws at all restraining financial conduct, the economy would work better, a situation which is obviously absurd. That has been the case as far back as the South Seas boom, and it will continue to be the case if markets are allowed to function without any form of smart restrictions. Sin and stupidity must be crushed underfoot. The nature of the game necessitates that both parties' wings contain a number of morons, and the reason it has succeeded thus far is that those in the center have learned to ignore them. However, every once in a while the morons manage to seize power, with disastrous results. In a sense, that's just how the system works. We went too far down the path of financial deregulation, and as a result, people were making so much money and the economy was doing so well because it was being puffed up by this idiot boom and idiot expansion of consumer credit that everyone thought it wasn't this wonderful. And of course, it was your life for the next 3 weeks would be more pleasant if you went on heroin, but it would totally destroy you over the long pole. And that's what happens to an economy when it allows itself to be seduced. On the other hand, someone called him a horse's ass for it, and the only person he can think of calling and talking him like that is Alan Greenspan. He felt terrible as he heard about that, and he believes we need more people like him around Wall Street, which tracks and rewards what he calls a locker room culture. So we guess you could say he's a hero in a Charlie Munger's book. It's not easy to look back on a career as distinguished as his, with as much success and adulation, and basically tell Charlie Munger that he's a horse ass at that age. In contrast to this, Warren and him don't feel compelled to succeed at everything, and he'd much rather live his way of life than theirs. The rest of us suffer greatly because of the terrible locker room culture that exists among men. This culture has to win at all costs and isn't very scrupulous about using any means necessary to achieve that goal. For starters, we can only deal with things that are within our ken. Second, we need a business with some inherent characteristics that give it a durable competitive advantage. Third, we'd much rather have a management team with a great deal of integrity and talent. And fourth, no matter how wonderful it is, it can't be bought for an infinite sum. It's a very straightforward set of ideas, and the reason they haven't spread more rapidly is that the professional classes can find enough nuance in them to justify their existence. For example, we need to set prices that make sense and provide safety margin when taking into account the natural surroundings of life. Well, it was succeeding wonderfully on numerous fronts when they bought it, and it was cheap in contrast to what was evidently going to happen. That's all they have to say. then it's likewise obvious and so simple that they don't know what they'd have to do with the remainder of the semester. That's a valuable realization, as there are occasions when even a large firm like Coca-Cola is too cheaply priced by the market in relation to what it will do for the shareholder. There are times when they can figure that out, and there are times when we can't. He and Warren were highly aggressive in their Coca-Cola purchases, accounting for close to a third of daily volume trading for several months. They like to purchase individual shares at a price that is lower than they think a rational person would pay if he could purchase the entire business outright. If Charlie Munger had never existed, Berkshire Hathaway would have been a huge success at the price you would realize by multiplying the price we're paying per share by the number of outstanding shares. For now, Warren and Charlie rarely talk, but both of them don't think that either of them wants to quit until as the laws of physiology force it, and that no doubt will be soon in them. But as investors, their suggestion is that you've got to remember that Berkshire is perhaps the most decentralized major corporation in the world, and at some point, him and Warren will want to retire. You have to remember that they started with a little nothing, and their successors are starting with something that is not a little nothing. And you should be able to achieve a lot more when you are given a mighty hand than when you are starting with a little nothing. And they believe that the very decentralization of Berkshire, the extreme pockets of talent, and all the subsidiaries will give Berkshire a very respectable future long after they are gone. Nonetheless, this ends our video for today. We are so glad that you took the time to finish this one, and if you have anything to share with us, then don't hesitate to leave them in the comment section below, and let's talk about it. Either way, please make sure to give this video a like before you leave, hit the subscribe and bell button as well to stay updated for more of our content. This is The Financial Bridge. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you on our next uploads.